telling you what the Yoruba people think. I'm telling you what came from essentially the palace, because the palace had to see what he had done because he was literally working with informants within the palace, right? Now let me go to the other book. Now this one is not from the palace. This one is a bit more recent, and it contains some things that you may not like. When I'm done with this, I'm going to read Bondarenko's work that talked about the ancient kings of Benin. Bondarenko is an authority in this particular thing. So I'm going to read this. One second, guys. There's only so much I can take. The most objective way to tell the history of a people or ethnic group like the Bini is to look at the historiography from their perspective. So I'm going to read again. I think I rushed through that. The most objective way to tell the history of a people or ethnic group like the Bini is to look at the historiography from their perspective, not from Yoruba perspective, but from their perspective. In other words, in light most favorable to them. In Jacob Egareva, Ekere Biton Edo, no historian could have worked harder on Benin. Despite Jacob's effort from the first to the fourth editions of his books, the fact that Ogiso and Oba dynasties came from Ile-Ife never changed. Adumu as common ancestor of Ijo, Edo, and Yoruba was also revealed. So I'm going to just go to another paragraph. Ijo, what do I know? Whoa.
Sorry, I have a question.
One second. You asked the question. I'm sorry. All these breaks, so just hold on, please. You will ask the question, please. Okay, so again, sorry if I don't pronounce this very well, is because I'm not speaking. Ogiso Mamie Efiaga. Ogiso never convened meetings, but in times of trouble or crisis, moreover, the Odudua or Adumu. By the way, Adumu is like a short form of Adimula, which is one of the titles of the Oni of Ife. Sent the Ogiso, it could not have been the same Odudua that sent Oba. Oba of Benin banished his son Kaladeran with his mother from the city instead of killing him, and eventually became the founder of Ugoton on the bank of a river after wandering in the forest. Yet many Edo that celebrate the banishment of Kaladeran with establishment of Ugoton have not spoken up that he was never lost to Ile-Ife, and his time or that of his father could never have been the same with that of the ancient Odudua or Adimula. Then I'll jump to this other one. In Ekere, Egareva wrote that the Oba Godo, the first Ogiso, came to Benin from Ife with charm. And I'm going to take this, what I'm about to read right now, I'm going to connect it with the Edo myth, and then you see some parallels. In Ekere, that's the book, The Short History of Benin. Egareva wrote that the Oba Godo, the first Ogiso, came to Benin from Ife with charm in form of a snail shell. You'll hear that snail shell again soon. Afterwards cast in brass, containing some earth with vested power over land on him. He had written that Ewedo was the one who put then reigning Ogefa as the priest of the earth at the place the snail shell container of sand, which Ogiso brought from Ife, was buried, and the place is also the shrine of the earth deity. Now, let me quickly say something. When you look at the Benin, see, just in anything you do in your life, don't ever rewrite another person's history, because this is what happens. They now go and dig out the things that they wrote about you. So let's go back to the Benin myth of origin. In the Benin myth of origin, there's a person, a being, the supreme being called Osanuba. Osanuba has four sons. Four sons, right? So you have one of them. You said they gave them gifts. Give one wisdom, one wealth, one what's the other one? Wisdom, wealth, and knowledge, right? Wisdom, wealth, and knowledge. And then the last one, he gave land, or gave snail shell. That snail shell, you're going to notice the similarity. And
So I
that's what I
think
was telling you yesterday, that
the first three sons had the opportunity to choose first, and none of them wanted the
but
snail
they
shell
chose
because they
money.
felt
They didn't
yes.
want exactly.
None of them
So
wanted
they
to
didn't
pick the
want the
snail
snail
shell
shell.
because they felt it was like, what is this? So they all left it,
It
and
was
then the
useless.
last child who picked last
Pick the
was
snail
left.
shell.
Not yes.
Yeah. Now the thing about that snail shell is this: that snail shell is not an original idea. That snail shell was what the first Ogiso took from Ife, according to what I just read, and you also find it in the Gary Vaz book. He was given a snail shell. Of course, this book says to us that it's a charm. And today in Benin, there is a snail shell cast in bronze, and it is used during the coronation of the Oba. Like, if you want to fight with me, don't fight. Just go back to the palace and ask them. I don't want to fight. That story of a snail shell being given to the youngest son is literally the idea of the snail shell that was taken from Ife. But now it is part of the myth of Benin people, which is celebrated, and I think it should be celebrated. I'm just saying that you have to understand where the connection actually begins. So, to be clear, the connection is not just so. Oromiyo is a valid connection, like is a connection. But if you say that he is a descendant of a Kaladera who somehow got missing from Ugoto and found his way to Ife, you have to understand that the fact that before Oromiyo even came around, there was a story of the Ogiso. And listen, the Ogiso was not 40 BC. There is no book on earth. There is no material peer-reviewed journal anywhere on earth that mentions 40 BC. The only place you find it is on these funny blogs on social media. And if you ever discuss history with any group of people, and the only thing they keep telling you is to go and read the website, you know they are jokers. I can't be discussing ancient history with you and you're telling me to go and read blogs. And then you get to the blogs, which I did intentionally, just so that, to satisfy, to fulfill all righteousness. I went to the blogs, read it, no source, no reference, nothing. How do you tell the history of a place you went, and you didn't say that you went to meet any elders? You just sat and just tell a story. At my age, I can't be doing tales by moonlight. When we were children, we did that. So the point is that even if you say we don't care, is where Kaladera came from, where you have to understand the fact that before a Kaladera there was the Ogiso, and the Ogiso were never 31. And we're going to get to that point also. So let's open everything up so that we actually understand where we are coming from. The Ogisos were not 31. That number came much later. The original number was far away from 31. And we're going to read from Bodarenko's work now. Now, please, anybody can go and Google this and you'll find this document. And you can download it and then we can have a conversation. If you want to counter anything I'm saying, just make sure that you're not just shouting, hey, I don't agree. Now, let's go to the book by Bodarenko. It's called Ancient Benin. Where did the first rulers come from? Please, you can download that now. Ancient Benin, where did the first rulers come from? It's easy to download it. Actually, I think it's on ResearchGate, right? And you can easily just get the ResearchGate account if you like to read all these articles. So this is by Dmitry Bondarenko, and this is what he said. Please, this is the first I'm going to read. The time of the so-called first Ogiso dynasty, probably between the early 10th first half of, probably between the early 10th century to the first half of 12th centuries. He's talking about AD. This 40 BC nonsense is just something that was created by certain people and just threw out there. And the only reason that thing came out was to make it superior to the Oduduwa dynasty that came around the 10th, 11th century AD. And so you already know that historians and scholars have already agreed that the Oduduwa dynasty or dynasty in Ife actually began in the 11th century AD, 10th to 11th century AD. But in order to make it seem smaller, you now add another, I don't know, centuries, a few centuries before then, and call yourself 40 BC. You had an Ogiso who was never there at the time. So what we are seeing in this work is that the Ogiso dynasty, if you want to date it, it is between, and they cannot tell you it's not telling the exact date, so you can pick between the two options. Between the first half of the 10th century AD to the first half of the 12th century AD, somewhere along that line, that's where the Ogiso thing came about. All right, is one of the most mysterious pages in Benin's history. The sources on this period are not abundant. Furthermore, it is obvious that the rather scarce archaeological and ethno-historical evidence should be supplemented by an analysis of different records of the oral historical tradition, although it is well known that this kind of source is not very reliable. However, on the other hand, it is generally recognized that it is unreasonable to discredit it completely. So I'm going to go to the next one. For the Bini themselves, in their perception of the Ogiso time, it is the period of social creation of the world, comparable to the creation of the land. And that is why, not only due to lack of historical data, native recorders of the oral tradition have not even attempted to give dates of different Ogiso's reigns. For them, the linear concept needs to be corrected. In the light of this, we may suppose that coming to power of the first Ogiso and the establishment of the very institution of the Ogiso was far from being peaceful. It looks very much as if in reality, Igodo was not made the Ogiso, as a Gariba as well as other Benin court historian wrote, wrote, but it became him. Let me read that again. I didn't say it very well. It looks very much as if in reality, Igodo was not made the Ogiso, as a Gariba and other Benin court historian wrote, but it became Ogiso. In other words, it was not a peaceful reign that where they made him Ogiso. It was a situation where he became. The difference is that to be made means that it was peaceful. You came around, they said, "Come and be our Ogiso, come and be our king." To become it means that you got there, there was a pushback, and somehow you were able to repel it, and then you made yourself the Ogiso. So I'm going to go. There's so many things I'm going to read, but because I've been speaking for a while, I'll just read the last page of this thing, and then I'll come back and read a bit more stuff. Ejema Bino, page 194. Maybe I'm going to come back and read it because I can't even find the page I'm looking for. But I'll tell you what is in that page. What is in that page is that there were indeed, yes, there was an Ogiso dynasty. Again, we're reading books, we're not just making things up. There was indeed an Ogiso dynasty. That dynasty actually is from Ife, according to these materials. Number two, that it was not 31 originally, and I want to make sure I'm reading it because I don't want to just say, I know what I want to say, but I want to make sure I'm reading it out so that you don't say you just made it up. So I'll allow someone else to speak. Now quickly open to that page and then I'll read what I want to say. So Angry, you've been trying to speak for a while.
Yeah.
I'd like you to speak now, but please, if you want to come against anything I've said,
No.
the only way you
I'm
can
not shouting.
do it is to no. The only way you can do it is by presenting superior arguments. That's all I ask.
I understand. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm an Edo boy from Benin City, to be precise, and I just have a few questions. Just a few questions, and I would beg you to be very, very honest with me. The first question I would like to ask is, let me pretend to assume that the Yoruba is superior to the Benin, give birth to the Benin, as a lot of your followers are commenting on the comment section. Let me pretend to agree. Let
No,
me
no.
assume
So
I agree with
one
that. Wait,
second,
no,
angry.
sorry.
Angry. No. I get. No,
Okay.
sorry. You're going to speak. I just want to make something clear. I
Okay.
don't care about superiority. I don't care about Yoruba is bigger than you. This one is better than you. That's not my business. I
Okay.
don't care about.
Okay.
I don't care about supremacy. I just care
Okay.
about keeping the record straight. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all.
Because what I would love to ask some of these people is, okay, as an Edo person, if you're telling me, oh, the Oba came from this place, the Oba came from the Yoruba is superior to the Edo, the this is that. I mean, how is it going to change the fact that none of you feed me and I don't feed you people? How is he going to change that? Because one thing I believe all these things are meant to do is to create a kind of air of superiority, and right now it is so bad that we may not feel the effect right now, right? But our children that are coming, we are not always going to be there. We are getting old. We have children. Our children, how are they going to, relate with each other with this kind of mentality that is going on right now? Now, you see, what I would suggest in my own capacity, is, like someone rightly said before, teach your children your cultures, your traditions. Teach your children what you think you know, but tell them, learn to respect what other people think they know. That is where I
Sorry.
think
So hold
everything
on.
should
Angry.
stop. Okay.
Okay. 1 minute. 1 minute. Please round up. 1 minute.
Okay, good. That is
Don't take
where
it
I
slow.
think all these things should end, because at the end of the day, you see, okay, just like what is happening on the internet right now. It is not we that's going to feel it. Like these people are saying, oh, this so and so people are slaves, so and so people are slaves. At the end of the day, what is it going to do for your children? What is it going to do for the generation that is coming up? It's as simple as that. So for example, in my culture, there is something we always say, that Edo Odion. It means that, we are the eldest, but that will not reflect your own reality. You understand? You promote what is you're promoting. I will promote what is I'm promoting, and that is where it should end. So this feeling of superiority and
All right.
superior, well, it is
All
fine.
right.
All is well.
Hold on.
Thanks.
So hold on. So thank you very much for that, Angry. So please mute up. Two things are happening here. I'll call this gaslighting at its very peak. This is, if you've ever heard the word gaslighting, this is what it means. This is the definition of gaslighting. So a people are sitting down minding their business, and then somebody says something far away and said, "Hey, you guys, your great grandfather was my son that was caught molesting his mother." I've never said what I just said right now. I've never said it before. Just to tell you how stupid that Ekaledera claim is. Ekaledera was banished because of incest. And then you look from, I don't even want to say from like this castle built in the air, you look down your nose at these people and you say to them, listen, your great grandfather was banished from my hometown, and he was banished because he slept with your great great grandmother. Please guys, just sit down and think about it. And then you now say, by the way, that story, we can say it within ourselves, amongst ourselves. We don't have to say it around you, but just remember the fact that that Oduduwa that you are celebrating, is a Kaladera that we banished because he slept with his mother. And then when those people now stand up and say, are you all right? Then you now tell them and say, oh, you are just trying to be superior to us. Like, think about it. And when someone says, oh, what is it going to do? Is it going to affect food? If in 2024 the only thing you think about is food, you have a problem. Because food, shelter, clothing, they're the basic needs of man. There's something more than that. And I noticed it in Nigerian political discourse. People are always talking about people are hungry. And yes, it's a reality. And yes, it should be solved. And yes, we should ensure that people are taken care of. But if that is where your mind stops, then you're not better than the cavemen who are just thinking about what am I going to eat. You have to think about purpose. You have to think about future. You have to think about civilization. And there's no future civilization without memory of the past. And I will tell you why this is very, very important to me. The first time I'm from Ife. I'm from one of the royal families. And the first time I read this nonsense, a Caladera story, it was 2007. I'd heard stories, my aunt has told me these things, but I was an adult, yes, but I was like, isn't that they hid these things from us? This is how you know that you're even now doubting yourself and your family. Like, are you sure they told us the truth? So I started reading different accounts. Interestingly, I intentionally focused only on Edo sources. I was reading, all of them were just saying all kinds of things about different things about Yoruba. Did Yoruba people say anything? No. This happened around 2007. No, nobody said anything. But then the problem with keeping quiet and saying that I'm bigger than responding, I don't want to say, is that what you just said, angry, I have children. Me that somehow I'm connected with an incestuous relationship. Are you listening to what I'm saying? So when you talk about supremacy, the people that you should be talking to about supremacy are those who are bent on changing other people's history in order to feel good about themselves. It will always be nonsense because if for what is it that you think as a person, because I can see your chat in the comment section, what do you think will make a person look at another group of people and say to them, you are lower than us because your ancestor was a rapist or incestuous person from my place? So this is what I'm going to tell you. Personally, I don't really care for supremacy. What I care for is, especially if you're Nigerian, you've got to think beyond rice and beans. Conversations do not always have to revolve around what's the price of the bag of rice. There's more to life, and these are the things that make you actually build things. The people who build things are actually people that have a point to prove. Why do you think India, for goodness sake, why should India go to space? Thank you for the gifts. Why should India go to space? What I don't know, poor people in So don't come here and tell me that forget your history. Let's just talk about rice and beans. If you want to talk about rice and beans, there are many other live sessions that you can go to. Talk about the problem in Nigeria. Talk about and the problem. The funny thing also is that those who talk about problem in Nigeria, they talk about it. They never, and I've gone to many live sessions. They never speak with any idea of hope. They are dejected. They are sad. They are negative. They always spread nonsense in the name of we just want to be real. I don't want to be part of that. So this platform, I will tell the history as it is. I will bring books. I will not just tell you what I think. I will show you the facts. You can argue with the facts. If me telling you about my greatness somehow causes inferiority in your being, that is a you problem, not a me problem. Right? I can talk about myself, about the greatness of my people and my history, and I go to the sources and I tell you about what happened 6,000 years ago, 4,800 years ago. If you don't have that kind of thing, your job should be to find a way. I mean, all of you always claim to be making six figures in Europe. Your job is to take from the six figures, commission historians, archaeologists, scientists that will not lie, to go back in time and go and look for what will make you feel great. Then you become that. So if you say the people talking about their greatness are somehow being superior, no, they're just talking about who they are. And if you feel small because of that, that is your problem. And if you want to feel big, then you commission people with all this money that you are making in Europe. Commission people to go and excavate places and find things. But what I will assure you is this: whatever they find, have kids, and what my children will be saying is that my father taught us who we were. A day, I think it was a few months ago, I sat my kids down and I was reading their oriki to them. And why am I doing that? I want them to know who they are. I want them to know that they are descendants of great men. I want them to know who they, even if you leave the past, even their grandfather, my dad, I want them to know who my dad was. Then I want them to know where their own dad is going and where their dad is. That is how you build confidence, not by saying, let's just forget this past. Anybody can tell any story. Tell your story in your house. And this will be the last time I'll be this calm about that Karadera nonsense. You can distort your history. Your king even said, and I will repeat again, your king, a very wise man that I also respect and revere. And I respect him more than you do, to be honest, because as far as I'm concerned, most of the people that always shout on social media, they're not even connected to that palace like some of us from other places. Because if you look at the royal family of Ife, the royal family of even Ondo, Oyo, Benin, Eko, many parts of Yoruba land, they are connected. Now you don't know. It's just like saying the royal family of Russia, of Germany, of England, of Denmark, of Greece are connected. That is not news. So if you now start saying things that go against whatever that person says, no, we don't have to take that because we want you to feel good. I don't care about your feelings, to be honest. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the book, but I think before I do so, I want to go to like I didn't include Benin. Yes, with the Benin. So if I'm from the royal family of Ife, for instance, you are more connected to the Oba's palace than the people constituting nuisance on social media. And that's the reason someone like me will continue to respect that man, that Alashe Keji Orisha Omonoba, which means Omoba, and Oba is king, not light. With all revisionist nonsense. I'll continue to respect him. And what he told you is this: always limit this thing to our region. Why he said it, you can ask him. But he said you should limit it. So please take the advice of a wise man, limit it to that place. Don't bring it out here and tell me that I'm somehow connected to that incestuous Edo person. Thank you very much. God bless you. I'll go back to the book, but I've been talking for a while. So let TikTok go. TikTok, please.
So can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes. Okay.
Not yes. TikTok. TikTok.
Yeah. Thank you. So first, we appreciate everything you've been doing so far. I'm of Nigerian descent myself, and but I want to speak straight. I intentionally just decided to interject at this moment when you started talking about progress, and I like to say this, that when two enemies have a greater common enemy, it makes some sense that they become friends, at least temporarily, until they overcome that greater common enemy. I don't know if that makes sense to you. When we're talking about progress, there is a social media app that we have made. I'll speak for just maybe 1 more minute, that we've been able to come up with. We've been working on it for months, and there are some things that are pulling down the sub-Saharan African people. So one of them is not having their own platform. So we've had that platform. The name of it is what is on that display. So while I am learning more, maybe contributing my thoughts, I don't know if the host will not mind, because it's sometimes difficult to get hosts and influencers on their DMs. So, but anyways, the link to download the app is on the bio, and it's developed by one of us. And I think I hope it's something you're going to be excited about. One of the things that we've made. So TikTok usually victimizes dark-skinned people's content. Okay, and we know what is happening with all the things that Europe has done in the past few hundred years. So that's what I just came to talk about. Then also ask some questions, but I want to talk about this first. Then everyone, 30 minutes or so, maybe, if you don't mind, if it's something you are okay with. then we can talk more about it, or even it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you could send me a DM. And first, well done. Congratulations on your work and on
Yeah, and it's just
creating a
not myself, by
platform.
the way. Sorry to interrupt. It's not just myself.
You
People
know,
from
of course,
different, yeah,
it takes a village. Yeah, it takes a
yeah.
village. So even this little thing that we're doing here, there are other people behind the scenes. I'm just the face.
Okay.
So well done to you and your team. And I think it's something that we should celebrate. But what I'll do is, if you can send it to me in the DMs, I'm going to check it out, and then if it's something that aligns with what we're doing, I will definitely point people to it. I can do that, right? So thank you very much for coming, and
I'll stay.
I hope. I mean, yeah. Please, you can just send me the link or whatever. I'll check it. And from
Sorry,
what you said, I think
TikTok. So basically, are you saying you have a platform that supports sub-Saharan African content creators where they can have
content.
discussion?
Yes, to be very honest, yes, absolutely. And to be very honest, it's literally like a TikTok clone. And for example, someone just gave 2 coins or whatever that thing is, but that thing is first off not real money. Then when you give this host Busuyi, for example, a gift, eventually maybe just about at the best, maybe 60% of it gets to him. Most of it is just cut off by many middlemen, by PayPal, by Stripe, and all of those back end things that they do. And at the end of the day, just trickles get to the host because he's an African. And in fact, it's just recently that Africans were allowed to even, what's that thing called, monetize in the first place. So yes, it's a platform. It's just exactly like TikTok. And you can bring.
If you don't mind, what's your name and what country do you come from?
I'm from Nigeria, but then one thing we're very careful about is there's too many things that divide our people. I'm so sorry this seems like going off the topic, but it is not really off the topic if you have a look at it. There's too many things that divide our people. You will be surprised that if I tell you that this app was developed by a South African, for example, it's not, by the way. A Nigerian can say they will not download it, If I say it's developed by an Ife person, an Edo person can say they will not download it.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
Hold on.
But anyway, I've answered that question.
TikTok. Yeah, you have answered the question. But let me say something. And this is the mistake I think Black people make. And let me address it. I don't unite based on suffering, personally. When I hear this Pan-African thing, for me, I think we need to think a bit deeper. Europeans are not doing what they are doing because they are white. There's a bigger dream. And we have to think beyond trying to get out of some oppression to actually becoming so strong that we cannot be oppressed. Because the vision somehow and this is just my opinion. I'm not saying it's wrong I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. I'm just trying to say something and I've heard it a lot, especially